it down to the. Well, I worked for a company that got hit with ransomware and they paid it
Oh, boy.
because, and they were publicly traded and they didn't report it.
There's
Ooh,
a, just,
ouch.
if I may, there's a message in the right-hand corner saying webinar is now streaming live on YouTube.
We don't have a quorum.
No,
Streaming. Who's streaming it?
the IT people do. It goes live to YouTube and,
We don't have a quorum, and we didn't call the meeting to order, so.
right. I think he just took it down. I seen the message went away, so I think he heard me. I think. Paul Brown, can you hear me?
Jonathan Green's calling.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay,
Yeah, John.
you haven't started the meeting, correct?
How are you?
I didn't start recording it yet.
Right, don't stream it either yet,
All right.
okay? Because we don't have a quorum yet.
Invitations for panelists have been sent out message, but I actually don't get the invitation.
Yeah, I will send you a link.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, bye.
Bye.
Paul
John
Brown?
Green just called. He needs a link to get on.
No, he needs an invitation from Paul.
Oh.
The link doesn't work like that. Paul, can you send John Green an invitation, please?
All right.
Thank you. The other thing I need to tell you, Paul, is after you start the meeting, there's a gentleman that will possibly be in the audience. His name is George Dunn. And we'll need him brought in as a panelist when we get to the senior assessment relief request on the agenda.
Can I just do it now?
No, because you.
Until we start.
Christine Kurtz is in the audience too. She can bring her in.
Now?
Yeah, you can bring her in now.
So Jim, you're gonna watch the Yukon draft? The NBA draft, rather. I say Yukon, but I guess he's not there.
Probably watching the draft.
No, it doesn't start until 8.
Oh,
Jim, you gonna watch the draft tonight?
I'm probably going to tape it. I don't know how long we're going to be here. It's at 8 o'clock, I think. Huh?
We should be out of here before 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
Give John another couple minutes. Has anybody heard from Mr. Kelly?
No, I have not.
All I know is that Pete Gilderman is definitely not attending.
Yeah, we knew that.
Hmm.
Okay. John, can you hear us?
yep.
Okay. Margaret, I think I'm gonna go ahead and call the meeting to order. Time is 7:06 or 6:06. And this is the June 26th Town of Trumbull Water Pollution Control Authority monthly meeting. Margaret, can you please call the roll?
Frank Brigneri,
Present?
Tom Kelly, Peter Gelderman, John Green,
Here,
and Bruce Elstein.
Here,
We have a quorum.
And I'm going to ask for a motion and a second to approve the meeting of our regular meeting of May 22nd, 2024. Approve the meeting minutes.
so
So
moved.
moved. John, can you second,
I'll
please?
second. Yep.
Vote for unanimous consent.
I have to abstain, I wasn't there. So abstention.
Got it.
I think it passed.
It did pass, yes.
Okay. So now we're going to turn it over to Bill, and he's going to give us some background around the senior assessment relief request at 70 Skyview Drive. Bill?
Well, first I'd like to ask, Paul, could you please bring in George Dunn, who is in the audience?
Hi, George, can you hear us?
Is Mr. Dunn, your microphone is muted. There you go.
I'm on it.
Very good.
So, Mr. George Dunn, 70 Skyview has requested a senior assessment relief. Historically, there is a program for tax relief. The applicant must be eligible to qualify for property tax relief program. The assessment relief applies to the cost of principal only. Residents would be responsible for the bond interest. The relief program will remain in force until the ownership of the property is transferred and the balance of the assessment would be paid in full at closing. All accounts must be current in order for the resident to qualify for the program after the initial lien is issued. Mr. Dunn, do you have anything to add?
No, just that's what I'm reading in section 1955 of the Trumbull Code of Ordinance.
Okay, so this is a sort of an add-on to the property tax. Abatement's the wrong word because I think it's basically just held for later payment by somebody else. But it is consistent with the property tax. I'm not sure what the right word is, but the program in place for
Relief.
property taxes, we're also applying it to assessments of our levy as well. Is that it, Bill?
Yes.
So it's a tax deferment, except for the interest is paid, correct, Bill?
That's correct.
And has Mr. Dunn qualified for the tax deferment program?
I believe that's an affirmative.
That's correct.
Do we have a letter that shows that he does that? I have not seen anything.
We can get it after, we can get that from the tax assessor's office as a condition of approval.
Okay.
I mean, if this is an existing program, this is something, actually, I've been on this board for a number of years. I don't remember ever dealing with one of these. But if this is a program that has been in place and has been used before, that is correct, Bill?
That's correct. Last time it was used, I believe, when we searched back, 2009.
Okay, well, I mean, if people are entitled to whatever's on the books, so then I would move to grant it contingent upon, Bill and or Margaret receiving the, appropriate documentation of approval for the mainstream senior program, if, for lack of a better term.
Second,
Have a vote by unanimous consent.
Wait,
Mhm.
but before you vote, before we.
Oh, wait. Gotta
Alright.
let the
What,
speak.
what,
Yeah, go ahead,
vote
John.
withdrawn. Go ahead. Go ahead.
All right, I don't know if anybody has read section 19-55 of the municipal code, right? That's the tax relief program. And I can't share this right now, but it's a short section. I'll read it. What applies here? The section may allow optional methods of payment of a sewer assessment by an eligible property owner, subject to approval of the authority, including the option to pay only the annual interest charge on any deferred payments of outstanding balance of principal. Then it's due on the transfer. Well, all I'm saying is you can defer the entire principal balance if you choose to, or you can defer a portion of the principal
oh,
payment,
principal, yes.
not
I was
interest.
gonna say, the statute or the regulation is further clarified by what the WPCA board did back in, I think it was 94 or 2004, I don't remember. I think I read it recently with the materials. And it seems to limit us to being able to just defer while interest is being paid, the full principal.
Yeah, of course, that's the maximum.
You're saying we don't have to.
Well,
That's the
I,
minimum
to,
deferred is
to
the
me,
entire.
what this is about is, in essence, it's all that's happening here is that the estate, Mr. Dunn, I hate to talk to you about you in the past tense this way, but once Mr. Dunn is no longer the owner and it gets sold, that essentially is going to have to go with a lien associated with it. Therefore, it's just going to reduce the value to the estate. The town is made whole either way. I don't see a problem with that. Am I missing something?
I don't think so.
No, I'm just explaining what you have the discretion to do. And
Yeah,
it's
okay.
the
I
deferred.
I think
then I-
just
I'm sorry.
to clarify I think John had proposed and it was seconded to defer it in whole, but we can have another vote. Let's just clarify it, John.
Or why don't we just ask?
I would defer it in total if that's what Mr. Dunn is asking for. If it's consistent with what the ordinance says and prior practice. I admit I've never seen one of these before, and I've been on the board about 6 or 7 years. But if there's a precedent for it, I'd be fine with it.
And I also want to clarify that the amount deferred is due on any transfer of the title or death.
So let's restate this and say that, you know, we agree to defer the principal consistent with current town regulations, provided that we get from the tax assessor the fact that the property tax was deferred. It's as part of this program. And
So
that
just so you understand, before the meeting, I did go to the tax assessor's office and verbally they told me Mr. Dunn qualified for the local level, not
Okay.
the state. There are two programs, one's at the state level and one is at the local level, but he does qualify for the local level.
And the ordinance in question doesn't clarify which of I presumably, since it's a town ordinance, it's talking about the town's ability to defer. Therefore, I think that's still consistent with what we're talking about. Yes?
It's definitely a town ordinance applicable to the town of Trumbull.
Okay. In that case, again, I'll make the motion again to defer the principal, per the ordinance in question, dependent on delivery of a a certification letter or something similar, whatever language would be appropriate. Jim, you can specify, to the WPCA indicating approval for the town program, the town tax deferment program.
I'll second it if you can cut the words in half. So second.
I've never actually heard a lawyer say cut the words in half. Usually they double them. So
Well, that's why judges limit lawyers to number of words in their
the
motions.
number of pages are
Can
usually
I
very.
see a vote for unanimous consent?
Yeah.
Motion passed. Okay. Mr. Dunn,
Yes.
thank you for coming forward and have a good evening.
Thank you very much. You too, everybody.
You too.
What's the next step in my situation? They muted me.
You need to provide us with a document saying that you qualify.
So if you're enrolled in the real estate tax deferment, then you qualify. And that's a good question. Do we send Mr. Dunn a letter saying that he's in the program? I mean, we have to check with.
So
There
when
must be some
I spoke with
documentation.
when I spoke with the tax assessor's office, they wanted me to let them know what happens at this meeting. So I could request that in writing from them that he qualifies. And then the only other thing is we would have to check with the tax collector's office, because I believe one of the conditions that you have to meet was that he didn't owe anything else to the town, I think is how I read it. So we would have to get that from the tax collector's office as well. And then we could then work with the tax collector's office to change his billing, correct? Jim?
Well, yeah, you can. I mean, the real estate tax program has a condition that you not be in arrears on your taxes when you
Correct.
apply for the deferral. So that's the precondition.
Did they
Excuse me.
they put a lien on the property, Jim, or whatever legal mechanism?
Yeah, certainly can. Yeah.
No, do they?
The
That's part of, they put something on the deed, right?
Well, it's on the land records. Yeah.
Okay.
Excuse me, can I ask a question here?
Sure.
So can I get this to start now? Because the assessment's gonna start to get, the bill is gonna be coming out like very soon?
So
July
September,
1st?
the next installment.
Pardon me?
Well, the 30th payment is due, but that's the fourth quarter, right? But the July 1, the assessments come out.
Right, that's what I'm saying. I paid everything off last year. So how do I make sure
Margaret-
that?
I would be very wary of chiming in on when the applicability period is. I haven't read the regulation. I haven't read the enabling statute. There may be language in there that directs it, and I hate for us to be at odds with whatever that says.
Well, I was just going to say, Bruce, Margaret will contact the tax assessor in the very near future and get the ball rolling. And Mr. Dunn, it would be all right with you, Margaret. Can he check with you to see if that's, or let him know when it's done, and he could take it up with the tax assessor after that?
Absolutely. I'll make contact with them tomorrow, as long as the person is there. If not, I'll have to follow up on Friday.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know their schedule, but we'll do it
Good.
almost as quickly as we possibly can. I just don't
So-
know the time constraints on their end.
Well, it's all in the hands, like Bruce correctly pointed out, it's in the hands of the tax assessor after we approve it and say it's okay. Any other questions, Mr. Dunn?
So basically, I don't know anything yet, other than you guys said it's approved. but we
There's a-
don't know the next step is for me.
Well, there will be a public record of our approval, number one. So, which I guess the only thing I can say is the tax assessor will, I don't know how they do it, but it's out of our hands. We approve it, they take it over. So, and I don't want to speak for them.
Okay, so do I drop my bottom down to the tax assessor's office and talk to somebody down there?
I think
I'd
so.
recommend
I think
it.
so.
I would, I would recommend it, but give us a day or two.
Yeah, no, I
As-
understand.
Yeah,
As Margaret said, they may not be in, the person may not be in tomorrow and she'd have to follow up on Friday.
and the other piece of this is they need our motions and votes showing that the commission approved it, so I have to put those together after this meeting. So I have 48 hours to get those submitted, and then I can give them a copy of those, because they're gonna need proof, written proof that the commission approved this.
So,
So it's gonna be working with both the tax assessor and the tax collector's office coordinating this.
so it's gonna take a few days for us to get our end to them, and how long they take, that's up to them.
And how it impacts the billing, that's what he's asking.
Yeah,
Right. And that will be a question to the tax collector.
correct. But they're not gonna do anything until you get them the paperwork.
Correct.
Okay, I think we're gonna move on to the next course of business. Mr. Dunn, I believe you'll be okay, but if you have any questions, you can at least reach out to Margaret and find out if the paperwork's been submitted, then you can follow up with the tax assessor and the tax office.
Okay, thank you very
Thank you.
much.
All right. Can you drop, Paul, can you drop Mr. Dunn out of from the speaker role? To
Put them back into the panelists,
put him back into the panelists,
in the audience.
audience rather. Okay, Bill, let's get on to old business. I think the first order of business is the WPCA proposed Bridgeport budget.
Yes, so I got an email from the WPCA in Bridgeport. They had their meeting last week to approve the rate. They actually dropped the rate, 23 cents, ACCF, which brings the new rate to $6.488 per CCF. We have not gotten the official documents from them yet. It was just an email from their director of finance. So we really shouldn't work, until we get a firm document from Bridgeport telling us that. So
Okay,
we should consider everything for the next meeting based on the rate.
that rate goes into effect July 1st, right? Bill, that the new rates will be July 1?
Maybe he can't hear you. The new rates for Trumbull,
Yes,
billing would go out,
July 1st. No,
Okay.
August 1st.
correct, it's the August.
August 1st is, the August billing is, we set the
July.
rate in July and then right afterwards, the billing is
But
for August.
it's effective July 1.
It's effective, well, no, it's effective after our meeting.
Well, that's
The
what
Bridgeport rate is effective July 1, that is correct. But we
Correct,
usually
okay.
set our rate on the first meeting, our meeting in July.
Okay, yeah, I remember we did that last year. right, thanks.
Well, I think there's just one thing we have to remember about the rate, because, Bill, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think our budget anticipated an increase.
That's correct.
Bridgeport, and now there's been no increase.
Right.
So there's a portion of our rate was predicated on whatever the percentage amount that was anticipated from Bridgeport's increase, which did not occur.
Yeah, but this is a budget, that's a budget item, not a rate. So it's only in a budget that it shows a 3% increase in our budget.
Yeah, what's the difference? I mean, it's
We don't, that's not what we set the rate at. That's what we
So-
budget for. One's a
So-
budget number and one's a real rate.
Yeah, and as we go
Charge.
through the year, we'll look at budget versus actual, and there'll be a
Right.
savings there.
gotta be.
3% savings. We look at the budget again, don't we, Bill? Sometime in the fall and make supplemental requests.
We
if have
actually,
to.
we try to quarterly do a year to date.
Okay. The next topic is does anybody have any questions on the Bridgeport budget? I mean, I think it's good,
Good news.
good news,
Yeah,
good news.
Good news.
Could always use all the good news we can get.
It's just very surprising that they lowered the rate.
Now, can you give us an update on
Genuine
Old Town give us an update on the Old Town and Reservoir Avenue pump stations?
So the Old Town Pump Station, we have installed the station. They are currently working on the electrical and the accompanying pieces of the station, but looks like we should have a station up and running towards the end of the month.
So we're
on
still in
bypass right now.
still in bypass, okay. And I assume that the Reservoir Avenue pump station is still is that one closed out? You punch listed out?
No, we've had issues with getting the water connection reinstalled. And that's supposed to happen actually tomorrow, and then they could put the fence in and finish up the paving there. So we're almost there. The station is running. Right now it's just not paved and no water and temporary fencing.
And this from the aquarium.
Yeah, well, when Aquarian replaced the water main in Reservoir Avenue, and they noticed that there was no consumption because we had shut down the station. So when they reconnected the water mains, they didn't reconnect ours because there was no consumption. They thought it wasn't needed. So they are reconnecting they are redoing their main to our station tomorrow.
Okay. I guess the next thing is the Old Town force main.
So we had the bid opening. We had 5 respondents: Burns, True Blue, Penna, Guerrera, and Kelowna. Burns Construction was the lowest. It was 1,131,688. I can share my screen. I can show you the bid results.
I'm just going to ask you to share those, Bill.
Yep. Can you see that?
Not yet.
Very
Can you make it a
small.
little bigger? I guess we can. Yeah,
I
there we go.
don't, I
Can you
don't
see
see
that?
it at all.
No,
Who doesn't see it at all?
I don't see, me, Margaret, I don't see it at all.
I can
I have
see
a
it.
question.
I see it. Mhm.
I can see it.
Yeah, well, that's
The,
important.
I know the fifth one is cut off on mine, but
Well, they're high anyway. They're at 1.6 or something.
Yeah, Kelowna was 1.6, is the highest.
So what is
Wow. look
pay
at
item? What is pay item number 6?
Initial pavement, so they need to do a temporary pavement after they excavate and before they permanent pave. And Burns put in a penny a square yard, which was
Wow.
extremely low.
Well, that's not even low. That's not economically feasible. Do they? I mean,
Well,
Well-
if you look at they're the highest in the pipe itself. So
I see that.
they've accounted for their cost in the as part of the pipe cost.
Talking about number three?
Did you question them on this?
Yes, we did.
So is there any chance whatsoever that this initial pavement will be deleted from the scope?
No, it was
Because
still,
what,
the scope, it needs it.
yeah, well,
He has to put it in.
the
Yeah,
only
the
reason
flip
why I
side
asked
is-
that is that
Okay,
if
go
you
ahead.
know, as a contractor, if you know a bid item is going to get deleted or it's nowhere near as much as they say, you put in a low price. So then when you give a credit back, you're not giving much money back. So like, I saw the 1 cent, but you've explained it. It's in the 188, the price per
Right.
8-inch, and
You
it's
look
not
at-
going to get, it's not going to get deleted from the scope.
It's
It's
not gonna
gonna
get
have to
deleted
be
from the
done.
scopes. There may be a reduction in the amount. But it's not going to be, they have to do it.
Well, when you say reduction in the amount, how much?
They seem to think that it was, that the quantity was over the quantity, but I'm not sure of that. I mean, Christine, you put that number in there based on the lineal footage and an average trench width. So I think that,
It's a pretty set formula with the temporary trenching. It's
yeah,
related to the trench width, right? And overcutting. And then what are we doing? Mill and overlay on the permanent. So it can't be left open. It's not like they're going to eliminate the pavement.
right,
That's what I asked, because the second bidder,
yeah, it's
True,
150. He's
well,
$12.
he's
They did the
got,
same thing with Sledge.
he did the same thing with the rock removal.
That's correct. He does $1 a yard.
So,
Oh,
the question is, he's betting on the fact that there's no rock.
Right.
Which,
So
Which-
I looked at this, I took out the highest of each category and the lowest of each category, and then averaged the numbers in between. And I came up with an average of 1.3 million.
well, but the question is that he's got $1, so it's imbalanced. And, the rock, I mean, I've seen contractors do this before as a strategy with road work, with utility work, that they're betting the rock number goes down. In some municipalities, their bid would be considered non-responsive. Because
Right.
$1 is not responsive. But
It's usually
fact
written,
that-
it's
Sure,
usually
flip side
written that they
things.
can, it's usually written that the town can waive some informalities. My guess is a piece of what he's doing here is trying to get paid for something sooner than he would
I don't-
otherwise. And we can
Christina,
deal with,
I'm gonna disagree with you. That's not why he did it. He did it because he knows he doesn't believe the quantities are gonna be there, and he doesn't want to give a big credit back. It's a bidding strategy. the fact that the initial payment is only 1 cent, okay, it's explainable. It's in the 188 per foot. And you've already answered the question is that it's a set formula and it's not going to change. So that explains that variance. The rock variance is he's just betting there's no rock.
Oh,
And
I
he's
thought you
got
were
a
talking,
real low unit price so that if the work gets deleted, which he thinks it will, he won't be giving you a proper credit back. Everybody else is at 75, 100. So that, but it doesn't matter.
Well,
He's
isn't
not the
the
low bidder.
Isn't
right,
the
right.
risk
I was
also
referring
that
to
the
the
other way
pavement.
around, that if it turns out there's more ledge out there, that they've got this game, they've got it gamed so that they've established a price of $56.
Well-
And if actually turns out to be more ledge than specified, then there's an upside risk to us as well. I mean, this game is try to put low numbers on those things you're fairly sure you're not going to go up.
Yeah,
And put the bigger numbers on the things that are going up. It
you
could
better
go
be
up.
pretty certain what you're doing because there is ledge in the area. But
Right.
I
So
understand
The whole place
that-
is ledge.
his total is lower because of that. That's where he's what we're talking
But it-
about on the
but-
ledge side, right? So
I'm
his
just
I agree with you. Yep.
I was seeing it as a bidding strategy. Some municipalities in different states, based on my experience, the bid would get thrown out as being non-responsive. Okay, but in this case, Burns bid makes sense. Okay, they're the low bidder. The 1 cent is because they got the number in the 188. And you've already confirmed that the number, it's going to change, but it's not going to change dramatically. It could go a little over, could go a little under, if I understand it correctly. The 11,800 square feet in initial pavement, correct?
That's correct.
But I mean, I want to clarify this just to make sure I understand it. The 1,700 cubic yards of ledge, that was in our bid specs, right?
That's
Yeah.
correct.
So if it turns out there's 2,000 cubic yards of ledge, what happens?
He's
He
gonna
gets
charge
paid
a
that
dollar-
unit price.
Right,
He
the
gets
unit
paid
price.
that exactly. So he's incented.
Wait. You guys are talking over each other. Only one can talk at a time. I don't know. I don't know what the answer was to that question.
We're just getting ready for the debate tomorrow, so they talk over each other. But anyway, the
So-
answer to the question is if it goes to 2,000 versus the 1,700, and his unit rate is $1, he would get paid the grand total of $300.
Right.
Correct. And the
No,
bid
no.
strategy, John, the bid strategy is this. If he's putting a dollar in and he believes that there's not ledge there, look at the math. His math is $1,700. So he's only adding that total to his base bid. And that's where he's trying to come in lower than someone else.
No, see that this is not what I'm looking at. I'm looking at Burns.
Okay.
Burns is bidding a ridiculously low number on the initial payment, and probably really confident that that number is not going to change a whole lot. So he's shifting the funds to the ledge. And if the
No.
ledge turns out to be
He-
higher, then he's going to come back to us and going to ask for
John.
a supplemental.
John, he shifted it to 8-inch force main pipe, pay item number 3.
Why do you assume he shifted it there?
Because when Bill asked him why it was 1 cent a square foot, he told him I had already put it in the 8-inch force main.
That's correct.
Okay, how much different is this number than
A lot.
is 188? See, because I don't see the force of the pipe likely to change much. I see ledge as one of those things where you don't really know till you're in there. Is
Well-
that Christine? Am I wrong about that? I mean,
No.
the pipe is just you can lay it out on a map and you know within a very small tolerance how much pipe you're going to need. Ledge, until you're in there, I don't think you really know. So if I'm a bidder, my bid strategy would be to try to give myself as much flexibility on the ledge as possible. If I'm shifting money, that's where I'm shifting it. I'm not shifting it between two things that I'm reasonably certain are not going to change very much.
Well,
But then he won't get paid.
that strategy works both ways too. These guys, I'm sure they've done a pretty good assessment of what they think the rock is, and this guy believes there's no rock, which I didn't study the plans and the borings and all that to tell you if he's on target. But I've also seen it go the other way where they triple the rock number because they know it's low and they're going to hit a lot more rock. So all these things put the buyer, the town, at risk. And that's why in some municipalities, when things are way out of whack and they're not explainable, they're not considered responsive. But, I checked with Mr. Nugent beforehand. He says he's unaware of any municipal bidding laws that can do that in Connecticut. So I think, other than, are they responsive or not responsive? And I think looking at it, and Bill is telling me Burns is the responsive low bidder.
If you
Is that
look at
correct, Bill?
item number 3, all right, so Burns was 498, the next bidder was 397, but then it was 469, and then it was 636. So he's not that high. He's more in the middle of these numbers on a specific line item.
Yeah,
But I think
and I'm
I think the
looking at
one thing that we
56.
know is factual is they surveyed the route. I think the pipe is probably pretty accurate. Is that correct, Christine?
Yeah, so you're going from point A to point B. We have a route on the map. They know they're going to try and alter it somewhat to stay within the trench. The length of pipe and the pavement are married. So no matter where the pipe goes, the pavement goes. That same length.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
you're at a certain depth, and that's going to dictate the width of the trench, and you get a trench box in and all that other stuff.
And I will say that, I mean, just in fairness to Burns, since I did question the ledge as because that's the one that always worries me. Any homeowner in this area that's ever dug a hole knows there's a good chance they're going to hit stuff. But his number at 56 is still below a number of these other bids. In fact, is it the second lowest? I can't see the last one, but looks like it's the second lowest. So in fairness to them, he didn't jack that number way up and bet on the large amount of blasting and or trench excavation.
And keep in mind that the goal of the project is to keep the new pipe in the same general alignment as the existing pipe, which means it's already been blasted.
That's true.
It's not to his advantage, not to anyone's advantage to go off that path.
Well, no, they're gonna want it. They're gonna want it to be no rock if they have a low number, because their credit they have to give back is low.
Can I ask a question? How many hours of police time did we assume in this? I'm looking at it. The 10% of the cost is having somebody stand out there and on Old Town Road and direct traffic.
Well, one of the nuances with this project is that you have to have police from both Bridgeport and Trumbull involved because of the town border.
Yeah, I knew that actually. I mean, I love our police force, and I love them. God bless Bridgeport's police force, but 120 grand is a lot of money.
Yeah, but they're going to have to be there. They're going to have to be there probably during all construction.
Yeah.
Right. So the project duration is 120 days for substantial completion. That's when the bulk of the work will happen. That's 17 weeks, I think. It's a considerable amount of time.
But everybody has the same number. It's an allowance.
Right.
Yeah. No, I wasn't arguing it was a bid advantage. I was just, the number struck me as being a large number.
That's consistent with all our projects. The police time is always a big chunk of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it gets worse. Like if you get on a highway, it's like a third or half the cost is traffic control. Phil, you and Christine went through these bid items. Did you interview the bidders or just
Yes, we
Burns?
did.
Okay.
Well, we interviewed Burns. We've worked with Guerrera. We've worked with Kelowna. Never worked with True Blue.
I mean, the first two are almost dead even, let's face it. It's, 14,000 on a $1.1 million project. I'm sorry, Bill, you said we have not worked with True Blue in the past, or
We have not worked with True Blue.
Where are they out of?
I believe it's Newtown or Newington.
Yeah.
Upstate more.
When would this get awarded if we approve the award tonight?
How do I answer this, Jim?
Gotta tell them you did already.
We did already.
No. So you're not asking permission.
Well, we should be asking permission. We unfortunately, this has been like getting this project going between the consent order, the constant trying to get this pushed ahead because of the buses in the summer. I neglected, and we brought him in, interviewed him, and I sent Kevin a letter, told him to award to Burns.
But you did your due diligence. You had a pre-award
Oh,
conference. We questioned the pricing. We know the quality of their work. If none of those things were true, you wouldn't be in this predicament.
No, I mean, we're well aware of Burns. They work for us all the time.
Right.
In fact, they were on Churchill Road doing something, Bill. Is that your work today?
No, so there was a water main break there earlier this year, and it impacted the roadway.
So what do we do now, Jim? If it's already been awarded, do we just acknowledge that to award to Burns, or what do we do?
Well, it's a little uncharted territory for me, but the commission could vote to ratify the decision.
Yeah, why don't we do that?
So
So
moved.
But wait,
thank you.
let Jim
And he's-
finish. Actually, what is the alternative?
The alternative is to do nothing. It's already been awarded.
I think we should ratify it because I agree with I
Recommend
mean,
that
I
we-
personally agree with the award,
But after the commission thoroughly vets this, any further questions for Bill or Christine, whatever you have, you should ask it to make sure you're satisfied, and then put it to a vote to ratify the decision to award to Burns, yay or nay.
So I would, unless there's other discussion, I'd make the motion to ratify the contract awarded to Burns.
John, I can't second it, so
I mean, I respect everybody involved here. To be honest, I don't like the process. And I don't think it's necessarily the wrong decision. But again, $14,000 between the two. Frankly, I would have interviewed them both. Because $14,000 is noise relative to any concerns anybody might have, or I don't know.
I would take a look at True Blue and see that $1 a cubic yard in rock, knowing what we know that we're going to follow the existing trench. The rock number is probably going to go way down, and that $1 is going to end up. The town is going to get. It's not a fair price, and there's going to be a credit change order, and it's going to be in the $1,000 or less for the credit instead of $100,000. So I think True Blue with the $1 per cubic yard for rock isn't responsive. So that's the way I would see it. I'd throw the bid out. I mean, with Burns, they have an imbalanced bid, but it's included in another pay item. And it's not going to change. The rock is very subject to change and likely down, not up.
Yeah, it's a good point. It's a valid point. Just give me a second here. I'm just looking at these numbers, making sure I feel comfortable with what you just said and what we need to do here. Okay. All right, I'll second the motion.
I can't, we're not visible anymore, are we?
Yes, I'll stop sharing my screen.
What's the problem?
No,
I
he's
was gonna
getting
ask for
back
a
to the
vote of
screen.
unanimous
Oh,
consent. I
good.
couldn't see the hands. Margaret, the motion passed. Okay. Christine, can you give us an update on Williams Road, please?
Yes, we've had the survey for some time, created a temporary, a layout plan for where we think pits would be. Our lead engineer has been in contact with both some contractors to identify possible types of construction to get underneath the highway. We've talked with one contractor who does it one way. One of the next important steps would be to start planning for some boring information, to do borings to get understand what we'd be drilling through, the quality and quantity of rock, etc. So we're in the process of contacting drilling companies and the DOT to remind them of this project. Ideally, we'd like 3, one at either side and one in the middle. But certainly it'll likely wind up being 2 borings or 2 locations, one on either side of the highway.
You don't think you could, don't you think it makes the most sense in the middle?
Just access to the middle might be difficult.
I see. Oh, there's
Ideally,
no aisle.
ideally we like all 3. And that's why we need the DOT involved with this. If it were not on the DOT's property, we'd be moving ahead with it faster.
Yeah, there's not a big median that's the area.
I'm not familiar with it.
I'm mentally trying to picture it, and there's very little, right?
Well, it doesn't affect my commute because I get on at Main Street, so, and head south, so. All right, so you haven't spoken with the DOT yet, other than to make them aware that this is still out there?
Right, they're aware of the project. We're just reminding them, and now we have to get in contact with the folks that will direct or guide, give us the limitations, if any, for doing the boring program.
The road is fairly elevated there, isn't it?
Right.
Yes.
Yep.
So
it depends, if there's a lot of rock and rubble, the approach might be different on getting through the highway than if we know it's completely clean, backfilled type material. When they're drilling and they hit something, it'll redirect. Don't forget we're doing, this is gravity, so we have to be a little more careful. When it's a force main, it's a different situation. So how we get across is going to be important.
So what are the 2 approaches? Directional drilling versus
We could core, we could push through. We can have a casing pipe with a carrier pipe with the actual pipe inside. There's a couple different methods they'll use to get across.
if you're going through a boulder field, you're gonna have to use a pretty big
Casing
bore.
pipe. Yep.
Yeah, 48 inch probably to get men inside to get it out. I did it once early in my career, and we sunk the road.
Let's see. We don't want to do that.
The city couldn't figure out it was us, believe it or not. It was New Jersey. It was back in the 80s. No big deal.
Hope they're not watching.
Statute of limitations expired. And that,
There is none
No,
against
no,
the
no,
municipality.
For all the things we figured out, we knew we needed a big bore. We were bringing across 22 pipelines. The contractor let the driving pit fill with water every day, and then he would dewater the driving pit with these huge trash pumps. We were right along the water, and what happened was he consolidated the sand in the roadway and sunk it.
Yeah.
And all the utilities were on piling, So they were sticking up through the pavement. Anyway, they figured it out after a few trucks dropped their axles. It was unanticipated. All right. So this thing isn't going to happen for some time, if I had to guess.
Right. This was, I mean, the phase that we're in right now is preliminary design. And based on what we
So-
hear from the contractors, boring information that we weren't planning on doing it right away, but we will shift our path. And then DOT and the specialty group with the merit will all have a play in how this gets put through the embankment.
Well, and under no circumstances, would we do an open cut? That's for certain, right?
Right. No.
We don't have enough money in our budget or in our
Right.
tax base for that. What else is going on with Williams Road? Weren't you going to get a survey done and some drawings so that we can even get the right-of-way language prepared and all that? Or is
So
it still?
we do have a survey, and once we pin down where we're going to do jacking and where the pits are and the pipe, I'd have a higher level of confidence of where the town needs their easements and how you want to marry that to the residents' easements. But I thought that was the plan, right? We were going to get
Yes.
your alignment underway and at least to the 30% level before you get into creating easements.
Yeah, I mean, I need a map that which you have some confidence is going to show where we need to go.
Right.
And we've
And
not heard from that development site, have we, Mr.
Have
Nugent?
not.
Nope.
Okay. Does anybody else have any questions on Williams Road?
No,
Hey, Bill, can you give us an update on Trumbull Town Center?
Trumbull Center has been through P and Z, was approved, but is now being appealed by the developer. Because of some open space requirement. I have not heard anything from them in regards to a pump station.
well, the clock's ticking, right?
It is August.
I mean, if they're not pretty much getting ready to go to put it in, they ain't making it.
I notified their lawyer 2 weeks ago that they should not expect any extensions. We gave them a very lengthy time period to just start. But if they do not go ahead with their project to build that building, they're not going to build a pump station. So I don't know what they're going to do at that point.
I thought our
Well,
approval was contingent on whether it was a go or no go.
Yeah, but they may decide not to build the building, in which case they don't care about our approval.
Well, then we'd have to
Well-
go down a different angle because we know the pipe has failed.
Yeah, absolutely. We have to issue an order.
Well, fortunately, it's leaking in, not out. Is there a possibility in a dry season, Christine, that gravity line behind the shopping center and the office building could leak out?
So that does happen under dry conditions in groundwater, and you have, we call it exfiltration. I believe though in this case that you're below the bed of the river, or you're low enough where I'm doubtful that would happen. I'd have to look into the elevations. It is a thing. I just don't know if it would be a thing here.
Okay. Well, we'll know when we reconvene in September, I guess, right? We're off in August. July, they still have time to start. And
We still have one more meeting in July.
right,
Okay.
but I'm saying is that even if they were supposed to get underway in August, right?
Right.
when we meet in September, we'll know. How long does an appeal process take on the? They,
Appeal
do
request.
they go to court or they're still in town administrative?
Yeah, they're at the
hearing?
ZBA.
Okay.
They also want to have the right, once they demolish the buildings along White Plains Road, to rebuild them as a matter of right somewhere else on the site. So if they don't build their building in the back, they may want to reconstruct the similar strip center there in the rear of the lot. Who knows? That's very unclear what they want to do, and specifically, but that and the open space requirement are their issues, allegedly.
Not our board's responsibility. So this is going to take some time. I guess that was my question. How long will this take to get through the zoning board of appeals?
I don't really know how quickly they move. That's not my my area, but if they don't like what they get there for decision, they can appeal into Superior Court too.
Right. It goes to court after that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess what I'm saying is that when we meet in September, we'll know if they started in August, or they may approach you with a different offer, but we'll discuss it in September. We'll look at it again in July just to get an update, if that's okay with you, Bill.
Yep.
Right? They can come back and say they want to put something inside that pipe, right, Bill? A sleeve inside there or something, or some other method. We'll see.
Well, we located all the failures. Could just fix it.
It's possible. I don't know if it's feasible, but it's possible.
Does anybody have any other issues they'd like to discuss? And if not, I
have
call
one.
for. Okay.
Bill, do you want to? This can only be a discussion item, but for the issue about the guy who wants to connect, unless you want to put that on in for July, and the Monroe parcel.
That was a question from a developer. I don't know if it was a question from the person that owns it. I think it was more of a real estate question. Is that correct, Margaret?
I got the sense that he was an engineer, but he didn't say that specifically. He did call again today. I'm looking for my notes.
Margaret, you're on mute.
I can hear her.
She just went to,
Okay, so sorry about that. So I got the sense that he may be an engineer. He didn't say that specifically, but he referred to a client. And he did call today, and it sounds like this would be an agenda item for July.
Okay, so we'll just.
If you wish to put it on the agenda.
So this is the property on, what is it, Corporate Drive, Bill?
No, it's off of Spring Hill.
But it backs up to
So it backs up
to
so there's
technology.
Technology Drive. Yeah, sorry,
Yeah.
not Corporate Drive.
No, it's on
Cross.
Spring Hill.
Yeah.
Spring Hill, if you're familiar with Spring Hill and the Jehovah Witnesses,
Yes.
between Jehovah Witness and the property to the west, there's a driveway, and the driveway goes to the parcel in the back. It's 207 Spring
205.
Hill Road.
Yeah, he said it was east of 205.
Right, east of 205 and west of 211.
Majority of the property is in Monroe, right?
Yes, it's about 4.2 acres in Monroe and 3/4 of an acre or less in Trumbull.
I have to Yeah, I think we'll just wait until we get more information, put it on the agenda, then we'd be guessing otherwise.
Bill, if you can figure out whether any portion of the building, any improvement is in
Yeah.
or only in Monroe?
His message
that's-
was that the
that's
entire
exactly
building
what I
would
did.
be in Monroe.
The entire
The
building's
entire
in
building will
Monroe?
be in- The only portion in Trumbull will probably be the driveway and some of the stormwater system.
Hmm.
Well, there's something there now, though, right? Isn't there a
No,
house,
there's nothing. It's a vacant lot.
vacant lot? Oh, okay.
There's a little, I'm trying to think where that MTD or something is over there.
Isn't there a printing? This is on Spring Hill Road. There's the-
MTD is down further. This is between the printing company and Jehovah Witness.
Okay,
Oh, so it doesn't back up the Technology Drive at all.
No,
No.
it's on the north side
on
of
the
the
other
road.
side of the street. It's on the north side of the street.
Backs up to more Monroe property.
Yeah, no, it's a philosophical discussion that we're gonna have to have is to how much Trumbull has to be in to make it justify to be part of our system.
Well, the one that we did approve further down on Main Street,
Well, that was split in the middle.
that one,
so-
half the building was in Trumbull.
Correct.
Over.
There was a sizable investment in Trumbull, in upgrading Trumbull property. So I had no real problem with that one, even though an additional sizable investment is in Monroe. It's part of our tax base, a significant part of our tax base. This one's gonna be a little trickier, I think, but I'll have to haul out the GIS maps and take a look at it.
Okay, that's all I have.
All right, can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second? Unanimous, you sent. Motion passed. See you in July, I guess.
Cool down,
Have a good night,
everybody.
everybody.
Good night.
Let's go,
Take care.
let's go watch the NBA draft, right? See where UConn is.
That's right.
Okay,
See you.
take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Good night.